Hi everyone, my name is Rebecca, and today I'll be going through the ACT practice test number 1, problems 21 to 30. So the first thing that I noticed is that this passage is pretty long, and also that I don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to first skip the first few questions because they talk about the main idea. I'll remind myself by circling the questions, and I'll go back to them later. So first, let's look at number 23. It says, based on the passage, the way Homer depicted shapes in his early work and the way he depicted them in his later work is best described as shifting from A. Weak to powerful, B. Sharp to rounded, C. Dark to light, or D. Uplifting to melancholy. So the passage reads, the images in the paintings of Winslow Homer epitomize a peculiarly American 19th century world. Through Homer's eyes, it is a world in which people live in close contact with nature and natural forces, a world where landscape and ocean are viewed not as paradise, but as powers and presences that can be enjoyed and whose threats can sometimes be overcome. And particularly in his later paintings, it is a world imbued with a stark and melancholy atmosphere. In 1867, two of Homer's canvases were chosen to hang at the Great Exposition in Paris. The artist spent 10 months in the city, which later proved to have a profound effect on his art. A large display of Japanese prints was exhibited in the same building as his own paintings, and the process of simplification that it revealed and the wealth of pictorial invention it provided made a deep impression on the artist. The influence of Japanese art on Homer's painting was immediately apparent upon his return to the United States. The weakness of earlier compositions is replaced by a boldness and lucidity in which simple shapes are massed into powerful designs. So it's really useful to just mark up the page as you read and to read the question first before looking for where the answer would be. In this case, our answer is on line 20, where it says, the weakness of earlier compositions is replaced by a boldness and lucidity in which simple shapes are massed into powerful designs. That means that it used to be weak and now is powerful, therefore the answer is A. Number 24. According to the passage, Homer felt fascination for the subjects that inspired him at Tinmouth for a F and G say short time, H and J say long time. So the third paragraph reads, although Homer's work of the 1870s gained strength, the artist continued to paint his genre subjects, tourist scenes, schoolchildren, and farm life. It wasn't until 1881, however, that he found the subject matter that would inspire him the most. In that year, for reasons unknown, Homer went to England, where he elected to spend the summer at the town of Tinmouth, on the coast of the North Sea. It is possible he was searching for a town filled with the type of tourists and bathers that made his paintings of the Jersey Shore successful back home. But Tinmouth was also a community of fishermen who wrestled their livelihood from the dangerous and unpredictable waters of the North Sea. Moreover, the light and weather in that part of the world, so much farther north than Atlantic City, is much gloomier and more dramatic than that of the Jersey coast. It was there that Homer became enthralled by the dramas of the people who make their living from the ocean, the fishermen's wives staring out to sea as they wait for their men, the launch of the lifeboat to rescue sailors from a foundering ship, the agonizingly fragile fishing boats being tossed on the angry waves. Here at last was a subject matter that matched the artist's deepest feelings. The dynamic and dangerous relationship between human activity and natural forces exposed in this setting would occupy Homer for many years to come. On his return to America, he elected to leave New York and relocate to the rural town of Proutsneck, Maine. Aha, so we found our answer. Under the underlined sentence, it says that the dynamic and dangerous relationship between human activity and natural forces exposed in this setting would occupy Homer for many years to come. So firstly, we can cancel out the first two answer choices because the passage says that this setting would occupy Homer for many years to come. H says that Homer regularly returns to Tinmouth, whereas J does not say that. We know that Homer does not regularly return because the passage doesn't say that, therefore the answer is J. 25. According to the passage, the paintings that Tinmouth inspired Homer to create mainly featured A. Scenes of tourists and sunbathers, B. The interplay between the sea and the lives of fishermen, C. The dynamic struggle between farmers and the powerful forces of nature, or D. The soothing yet dramatic beauty of the North Sea. So Homer's inspiration essentially came from Tinmouth, where he found that the fishermen were struggling against the sea. So we can cancel out A and C, and because the passage doesn't talk about the beauty of the North Sea, we can cancel out D. Thus, the answer is B. So number 26, the passage most strongly suggests that the main turning point in the development of Homer as an artist was his F. Discovery of subject matter that profoundly inspired him, G. Sense of accomplishment at having his paintings displayed at the Great Exposition, H. Decision to spend winters at the Caribbean, where he was inspired by the sea, J. Rejection of the belief that the world was stark and melancholy. The answer is F. The passage shifts its focus after mentioning Homer's discovery of inspiration and represents a shift in perspective and a turning point in his life. Previously, he has already gained strength, and thus, those moments of accomplishments do not drastically change his life. At the end, his beliefs and art are still melancholy, so the answer is not J. Number 27. The author characterizes the immediate effect of experiences in Paris upon Homer's work as A. Subtle, B. Dramatic, C. Imperceptible, or D. Significant. So the answer is not C or D because the reasons are inaccurate and unaligned with the passage. A is also incorrect because he didn't simply use more color, but his entire works became bolder and clearer, which is what B is, and B is the answer. Number 28. The main idea of the last paragraph is that F. Homer's paintings of the Maine coast exhibit the culmination of his artistic skills. G. Homer's paintings of the sea evoke the grandeur of the human spirit in the natural world. The sea outside his window now inspired the artist to create what came to be known as his greatest paintings. The Maine coast is extremely rocky and prone to monstrous gales that, at their most powerful, can whip up the waves to 40 or 50 feet. Screaming winds can rip across the breakers, creating long horizontal trails of spray. Homer rendered the sea with all the understanding of a painter who knows to simplify and synthesize. In paintings such as Eastern Point and Cannon Rock, the construction of the water has been reorganized into clear graphical shapes and strong directional lines that echo the Japanese printmaking that had such a lasting effect on his work. The rocks in the paintings are massed into powerful, almost flat designs, and the brushing has become energetic, as though feeding from the physical strength of the ocean. These paintings take on an abstract grandeur that has justly made them famous. They remain, however, haunting evocations of the eternal power of the ocean. This paragraph talks about Homer's techniques in painting the Maine coast and how his skills developed from his inspiration. It does not discuss humans or Homer's own feelings, and thus we can eliminate answer choices G and J. The paragraph also does not focus on the depiction of water using shapes and lines as told by answer choice H, and thus the answer must be F. Number 29. The author speculates that Homer may have chosen to go to Tynemouth because he A. wanted to return to the place that had originally inspired him to be a painter, B. expected to be able to work better without the distractions he struggled with in Paris, C. needed a break from the overcrowded Jersey coast, D. hoped to find the kinds of subjects he had depicted in some of his earlier popular paintings. The passage states that it is possible he was searching for a town filled with the type of tourists and bathers that made his paintings of the Jersey Shore successful back home. Answer choices A, B, and C are inaccurate with the text. Therefore, the answer must be D. Number 30. The passage states that in Prout's Neck, Homer could be irritable when F. his paintings weren't selling well, G. storms preventing him from painting outdoors, H. the sea was too rough to go boating, or J. he was interrupted while painting. So first I would go back into the passage to find where Prout's Neck is, and I see that I found it in line 55, and so I'm going to read around it to find the answer. So starting from line 57, it says, the artist also built a studio with an ocean view just yards away from the family house, so throughout the summers he could enjoy the company of his father, his brothers and their wives, as well as their year-round guests of the many local people whose friendship he valued. Homer continued to travel frequently, spending parts of the winter in the Caribbean. But the artist always lived alone, and when he was working, which was a large part of most of his days, he could be extremely short-tempered when interrupted. Thus the answer must be J. He doesn't want to be interrupted. So now it's time to go back to number 21 and 22. 21. The main purpose of this passage is to A. describe an artist's most famous painting, B. explore the relationship between the natural world and the fine arts, C. provide an overview of an artist's career, D. describe the work of artists who epitomized a peculiarly American 19th century world. Choices B and D are too vague and thus do not fit in accurately describing the passage as a whole. Choice A is too specific and the passage does not focus on a single piece of art. Thus the answer choice is C. Number 22. It can be reasonably inferred from the passage that which of the following scenes would most likely be the subject of a painting created by Homer late in his life. F. A family strolling along the boardwalk in Atlantic City. G. A fishing boat being violently pitched about on a stormy ocean. H. A farm, or J. A tourist. Near the end of his life, his paintings, as established earlier, are melancholy and surrounding the violent dynamic between nature and humans. He doesn't talk about Atlantic City, or farms, or tourists, and thus the answer must be G, a fishing boat being violently pitched about on a stormy ocean. So some final tips are, circle the main idea questions and come back to them if you have time at the end. Remember to go back to these questions and read chronologically according to the number of the questions if it makes sense to do so, and find the keywords to pinpoint the context.